Hi, I'm Terry Stallwood. I'm a professional real estate investor. I help everyday Canadians make above average returns from real estate. I'm an international real estate investor also. I have property in Florida, Las Vegas, Honduras, and Canada. I'm here today to speak about how to buy commercial property and multi-units with no money down. Some of the trends coming up in 2016 will be more joint venturing. I'm thinking less borrowing from the banks, using more private money and private people. I think the banks are just coming up with too many restrictions, and we need help. A lot of people out there have some money through RSPs or savings or whatever they can use to invest in real estate, and I think that's the way it's going to go. How's everybody doing today? Is anybody here interested in, by a show of hands, buying property with no money down? Okay, I'm in the right room. Has anybody here, by a show of hands, already done this? Okay, great. All the rest of you that didn't raise your hand, you're in the right room. Okay, my name is Terry Stallwood. I'm a professional real estate investor. I help everyday average Canadians make above average returns from real estate. Who is Terry Stallwood? I'm an international real estate investor. I have property in Las Vegas, Florida, Honduras, and in Canada. I'm a JV partner. I'm always looking for JV partners. That's a huge part of my business. I've been a contractor for 45 years in the building. I was a Red Seal carpenter. That's a licensed carpenter, if anybody doesn't know that. Mentor, coach, author, and a speaker. Everybody wants to know, how do you find a property? I find property a lot of the time by a realtor. My realtor must also be a real estate investor. My realtor must also like dealing with real estate investors. I think someone said earlier, like most realtors do not. They think we're a waste of time. We think we put on offers that don't really matter. They don't get it, what we're trying to do. So you really need to sort out a realtor that really knows what they're doing with real estate. My realtor also is my wife. She works her ass off. You want to check newspapers, look for anything that might resemble a discounted property. It could be mortgage foreclosures. I do a lot with mortgage foreclosures. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Every Wednesday morning they have an auction for mortgage foreclosures. I'm known at the auction as the professional there. I'm probably there more than anybody else, and I buy more property there than anybody else. So that's a really good source to go look at. I'm sure there's got to be mortgage foreclosure auction sales here also. There has to be. You want to look at for sale by owner, handyman specials. You know, anybody, sometimes you'll actually even see in a paper there'll be a vendor take back. If there's a vendor take back, you want to jump on it because that's great. Word of mouth. Just get out there, talk to everybody you can, you know, friends, just run people you run into, tell them what you're all about, tell them what you want to do, probably what areas you want to work in. Like, just don't stick around your little neighborhood. There's just a huge city out there. It's a huge province and a huge country, and from what I hear, lots of people are in the States. It's a huge North America, so don't just limit yourself. Citywide contacts, same thing. You want to just talk to as many people as you can. Like, one of my citywide contacts would be one of the building inspectors, and one of the he works for the city, and he goes and looks out properties that maybe aren't habitable anymore, so they sort of write them off or they want to condemn them. Possibly they make them tear them down. If there's a property that comes up like that, he phones me. He can't tell me who owns the property or how much the guy might want for it, but he tells me where it is, and he said keep an eye on it, or I usually go down, I'll put a card in the window or a door. If there's somebody living there, then I'll go talk to them for sure. So he's a really good contact. You want to keep your eyes and ears open all the time you're driving around, or especially if you go into a new area. You'll see new buildings starting. If all of a sudden you see a building going up on this corner and it sort of looks like say a Burger King, because a lot of the times they don't have their Burger King sign on it yet, just go talk to the contracting guys. They'll tell you, oh yeah, it's going to be a Burger King. Well, on all those other three corners, there's going to be a McDonald's, a Tim Hortons, or something for sure there fairly soon. So go and check out who owns those other three corners, because they always build together. So, check it out. If it is for sale and nobody's got an offer on it, just put an offer on it, tie it up, and get a hold of McDonald's or Tim Hortons, because they're going to want it. You can tie it up, and I've actually done this. I've tied that up and flipped to them later on and did a simultaneously close, they call it. So I didn't even have it in my name. It just went from the guy that owned it right into their name. So it's a great way to go. Finding money partners. Neil was talking about that a bit earlier before lunch. Like investment groups like this are, one of the main ways to go. So you want to really come to this. You really need to talk to everybody here. Everybody here has the same goal, I guess. Some have money and some are looking for money. You just need to get yourselves together. Have a power team. I don't know if everybody knows what a power team is. My power team, it has a mortgage, like a money advisor. We have an insurance agent. We have a realtor. You want to have a contractor, an insurance agent, a lawyer, anybody that really you need in that group to put a deal together. We meet once a month. One or the other, or two or three people will bring a deal there. You need to all sit down. Everybody looks at the deal, gives their opinions, pros and cons and whatever, and if it's a really good deal, you might actually even get one of the people at the table to JV with it. So you need to put a team together. Networking. This is networking, and just speaking to anybody you can. Friends, family, your doctor, dentist, lawyer, anybody that you are sitting with, even if you're getting your teeth fixed, try to get it out there. So, network with as many people as you can, and just get it known to be what you want and where you want to go. Meeting mortgage brokers. I don't very often deal with a bank. I hope there aren't any bankers here. I deal with mortgage brokers pretty much a lot. Each mortgage broker could be dealing with, say, 50 different individuals, organizations, and banks. They do deal with banks too, but they have private money, hard money, long-term money, whatever you need to do. If it's a short flip, you only need money for 3 months, they can find that for you. They generally work on a commission, so they're out there digging and digging and digging. You might go to a bank, the bank mortgage loan officer, she's probably going to get paid whether she sells you this mortgage or not, so she isn't putting as much into it as a mortgage broker. So you want to go and meet 4, 5, 6 mortgage brokers, hook up with them, tell them what you're doing, what you're going to need money for, and they'll back you, and they'll really dig in and try to get everything they can for you. So let's just say I find a property and I find an investor, so we end up getting a property. Is there anybody here that would be willing to put in $15,000 in return to get $116,000 back out? Good. So I actually did this. I have three deals that I've done that I'm going to show you how I did them, how they all came about. This deal actually did happen. It's all I had to do this deal was buy an island. So I know everybody here is not going to say, well, why would I go buy an island? But it's an island for me at the time. That's what worked. It could be anything else that you need to put it to. But this island, it's in Lake of the Woods, Ontario, northwestern Ontario. A little bit about Lake of the Woods. There's 13,000 islands in Lake of the Woods, 65,000 miles of shoreline. 95% of everything there is probably Crown land, which is owned by the government. There's hardly anything there that hasn't got a cottage on it that would be for sale. I was working on the island next to this one, and I was building a guy a cottage. And he flew up in his plane from Wisconsin one day. We had to go over a bunch of stuff on his cottage, and we're standing on the dock, and we're just standing there kind of looking down the lake, and he's going, you know, geez, I was going to buy that island over there, but the guy wants $100,000 for it, and I got him down to $80,000. I'm not willing to pay $80,000 for it because, like, I'm spending $450,000 on this one. That one's only going to sit there. I just didn't want anybody to buy it. So all the time we were building his cottage, people stopped all summer and going, wow, because this was 12 miles out into nowhere. They're going, oh man, I wish I could buy a place out here like this. And I'm going, well, there's nothing here for sale. So he tells me this. I'm going, oh, wow. Why didn't I get everybody's name and phone number? So anyway, we're talking, and he jumps in his airplane and he's going to leave, and I say, you're definitely not interested in that island? He says, no, I'm not paying that. So I said, okay, catch you later, see you next time when you come up. So he jumps in his plane, takes off. I jump in my boat. I go back to town. I go to the registry office. I look up the island. I look up the owner. I get his contact information. I call him up, and I say, you know, is the island still for sale? And he said, yeah, it's still for sale. I said, I'll give you $80,000. Like, I already knew he was going to take $80,000, so I said, I'll give you $80,000, and I need 10 days to finance. He says, okay. So I called some friends. It was a bad time, you know, never works out. Went to the bank. The bank manager was a friend of mine. They do not want to finance raw land very well, and especially when it's 12 miles out into nowhere. So that kind of fell. So I wasted about 8 days on this, and I'm going, oh brother, I'm not going to get this thing. So that night, another client of mine, I built him a cottage on another island. He comes up and he always phones me and he says, oh, what's going on? So I started telling him about the island. So he gets a bit interested. He says, oh, pick me up, let's go take a look. So I did. I picked him up in the boat. We ran out there. We went around it. I showed him how I wanted to split it up. And I wanted to split up so anybody that built a cottage on there could not see anybody else's cottage. And for damn sure, the guy on the next island couldn't see anybody there because he's going to be pissed that I bought the island. So, you know, he said, yeah, looks great. I told him what I thought we could sell them for. He says, looks good, let's do it. So he said, what do you need from me? I said, oh, all I need from you is $80,000. He said, oh, that's the whole thing? I said, exactly. I need $80,000 to close on it. And he said, oh, okay. So I said, I'll pay for the closing costs, the survey, I'll sell them, I'll get this thing done. You don't have to do anything. So he says, okay, let's do it. So he gave me the money. We closed on the property, and I got it all surveyed and whatever. Unknowingly, the Ontario government wanted me to do an archaeological study now. They thought somebody might have canoed by there 100 years ago stayed 2 or 3 days, and who knows, died or whatever, but thank God they didn't find any bones, because it would have been really bad. But they looked for artifacts and whatever, and they found nothing, which was, what a relief that was. So we ended up doing this. We sold them off. So this is how it all broke down. Purchase price was $80,000. Legals, I ended up spending $15,000. Purchase price of $95,000. We sold the lots for $345,000. Take off the purchase price, $95,000. I paid him 10% on his money until he was paid out. We made an agreement that the first sale, we both got our money paid back, and we split the rest. So I paid him $8,000 for that. Accounting fees and expenses were $10,000, profit of $232,000. So we split this in the end at $116,000.
That's it?
That's it. This could have turned out way better, but this ended up taking over 2 years. We sold the first 2 lots right away. The third lot, we ended up only getting $60,000 for it. In that area of northwestern Ontario was almost totally run by Americans. So they had all that trouble in the States, and the exchange changed so bad. Then our money went up. It took me almost 2 years to sell that last lot, but we were going to sell that for like $120,000, but still worked out fine. The investor was happy, and so was I. So later on, you talk about how to find properties. I was living in a small town, so everybody went to the post office between 10 and 12. Anything you ever wanted to know in town, you just showed up at the post office between 10 and 12. All the gossip was going on. So I found out that the post office was going to look for a new property, and they outgrew where they were. And then shortly after that, I was talking to the bank manager, and she told me that the credit union was looking for a bigger property because they'd outgrown theirs. So in the middle of town, there was this empty building here, and I hate seeing empty buildings. I'm just trying to think of what can I do with that right away. And they had it listed for $195,000. So, it was totally not worth that. The owner, I had known for many years. He moved back to the States. He just wanted to sell it. So at this point, it had been for sale for over a year. And it went from 195 down to like 175, 165. I phoned him and I told him I was really interested in the building, but not yet. And I would phone him when I was ready. So he gets all excited, and he kept phoning me, "Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet?" And I'm going, "No." So in the meantime, I'm talking to the post office, and I'm talking to the credit union, trying to work out deals on rentals and whatever, and renovations and whatever on this building. So this went on for a few months. I finally got to the point where they wanted to sign up leases on this property. Well, I don't even own the property yet. So I phoned them up and said, "Okay, I'm ready. We got to do this now." So I was getting afraid. It was down to like $125,000 now. So I'm thinking, gee, somebody could end up buying it even if they don't need it. So I got a hold of him, and we hashed it out, and he said, "Okay, what can you do for me here?" And I said, "Well, the only thing that's going to work for me is $75,000. And at this point, it had run out, the real estate had run out. So we didn't have to pay a realtor at least. So I said, $75,000. He said, "Oh, brother," he's not real happy here. And he said, "Well, I guess I want to get rid of it," because he just said before, "I want to get rid of this thing no matter what." So I said, "Yeah, $75,000, no money down, and I'll pay you 10% interest, but I'll take it for a 2-year term, and I'll only pay the principal and the interest at the end of the 2-year term, or whenever I pay it out." So he didn't have a lot of choices there. He really wanted to get rid of this thing. So he said, "Okay." We finally did it. So we went, signed it all up with the lawyers. I went back, signed up contracts with the Canada Post and the credit union, and we started doing some renos. So I at post office again. Heard this guy wanted to have a building for a laundromat. So we're talking about this building, and I'm going, how about this? How about, how about, there we go. I said, how about this building on the front of this other building? They put an addition on here. So he looked at it and he said, yeah, that's just about the right size I need. So we made a deal. 2 days after I took possession of the building, I sold him. The first day I pulled this addition out and jacked it up. The second day we backed this trailer in, loaded it on, and he paid me $10,000 cash. So I got this building with no money down, absolutely. I've had it for 2 days. Now I got 10 grand back to put into the building itself. So it's a small town, and I'm one of the only contractors in town. So now the credit union and the post office hired me to fix my building. So they actually ended up putting around $225,000 each into each of their side. So now I've got this building for $75,000. I got $10,000 back right away. Now they're paying me to $450,000 to put into my building. You know, how good is this? So this is what it looked like in the after we fixed it, and this is how the deal kind of broke down on that. Originally they wanted $195. I ended up getting an offer of $75. I put myself, after I got it, $50,000 into it. The original owner had to carry it for 18 months, so I paid him $12,250 for interest. Sold the addition, so the cost was $127,250. I made a 5-year term lease with each credit union and the post office, and then it was a renewal of 3 times after that. So it was a total of 20-year lease. So I let it run the 5 years, and then after that 5 years, I actually sold the building to the credit union for $260. So ended up with $132,000 profit.
That's it? What do you do in your spare time?
I don't have any spare time. So after just 2 months ago in Winnipeg, my realtor, Mary, found me a triplex. It's right by the Health Sciences Center. It's one of the biggest or it is the biggest hospital in Manitoba. And this guy wanted to get rid of this thing quite bad. So there's 2 one-bedroom units on the bottom, and on the second and third floor there's a 6-bedroom unit. And the original owner, I don't know what he was doing, but he had a spa in the basement. Like, it was totally set up as a spa where you, like, massages, whirlpool tub, steam cabinet, infrared shower or infrared sauna, steam shower, all this stuff was in there. So I'm trying to find right now a masseuse or a naturopath or something that will rent that can use the stuff. But anyway, we got the numbers for this thing. We ran through all the numbers. Everything looked really good as an investment. So I called one of my investors. We went over and saw him, ran the numbers through there. He said, yeah, it looks good, let's go see it. So we ran over there. We're looking through the building, and here the owner comes in. So the owner is someone my investor already knows. And so he's starting to tell us he wants to go to Costa Rica. He wants his building gone in 3 days. You know, he wants out of town, basically. So probably something he should not have told us when you're selling something, right? So anyway, they wanted $259,900 for this, I think it was. In the end, my investor phoned the owner, negotiated a price down to $200,001. The guy fought for $1 forever, I don't know. I think he just wanted to say he sold it for over 200 grand. So anyway, we made this deal. The original price was $259,900. You know, accepted offer was $200,001. We had a $10,000 holdback because he was supposed to do the roof and some other minor repairs on closing. He didn't have that done. So we kept the 10 grand. In the end, we negotiated that with him. We gave him 2,000 and we kept 8. So that brought it down to 192,1. We paid cash for that. So we, just to make things faster, my investor paid the whole thing in cash. So now we've cleaned it up a little bit. It's all rented except for the spa. We're having an appraisal of $260 on a new mortgage of $208,000, which is like over and above the actual purchase price. So that's covering our legal fees, and it could give us like $8,000 to the good. We'll either leave in there to do future work or use it on another flip or something. Monthly revenue is $46.85. Expenses are $12.75, and a mortgage payment now is going to be $9.50. Leaves a positive cash flow of $24.25.
That's it?
So now my investor has all his money back. We've formed a company between him and I. Now I'm 50% owner on title, and he's 50% owner on title. So we're keeping this as a long-term investment. We did the exact same thing 2 weeks later on a duplex, about 8 houses down from this one. Yep, anybody, you can do it anywhere. So a lot of the things I do, as you can see, buying an island or whatever, I don't care what it is if you can make money. I do things outside the box, as they say sometimes. And most deals aren't just black and white. You really need to go into every deal, just look at it at 20 different angles or whatever. Like I look at any deal just trying to make anything work, as long as the numbers work also. So every deal is not black and white, and sometimes the craziest deals in the beginning could be your best deal in the end. So I'd like to thank everybody for listening. These deals, you know, some of them like islands or whatever, it could be any piece of property. You don't have to just think it's an island. That just happened to work for me at that time. I'll be available here anytime after questions. If anybody wants a copy of any of these slides or the presentation here, you can just text that phone number on the screen, or you can email that address on the bottom, and the slides and the whole presentation will be sent to you.
All right, let's give them a hand.